What's up, party people? BB here, and welcome to Retail Media Vibes, a doing business in Bentonville podcast. I'm the guy who believes that every media plan needs a brief, the funnel isn't broken, and AI is here to help just like me. So I'd like to welcome you to episode 1, which is being recorded at Podcast Video Studios here in Rogers, Arkansas. So I'm really excited to get this podcast going. And it's been a long time coming, and I'm really happy to have you along for this journey. So before we start the show, I want to give you guys a little disclaimer. I want to say that first, all my opinions expressed are not necessarily reflective of any of my past employers, any of my present employers, or any of my future employers. And this is an opinion-based show. It's a subjective opinion based upon my observations, and it's definitely not going to be perfect by any stretch. So before we actually get into the show, I do want to talk about a little bit why I started Retail Media Vibes as a podcast, because, you know, retail media first is something I know and something I've lived, and it's been a big part of my career. And I know, like, for so many of you that are listening, whether you're on the brand side, the agency side, with a retailer, and you're working as a strategist, an analyst, a creative, a media planner, a producer, this industry is a huge part of your life too. And to be honest, it can be a grind at times. We work in a space that demands growth and performance every single day. And our time and attention is constantly being pulled in different directions. It's fast moving, it's high pressure, and sometimes it feels like you're just living it 24/7. So that's why I created this podcast. It's a place where we can step back from the grind just for a minute, maybe 30 minutes, and we can swap ideas, hear stuff that people don't always say in the room, and pick up an idea and maybe have a laugh along the way. So, you know, retail media keeps expanding. It's touching everything from ad tech to shopper trends to commerce app strategy. And, you know, it's not just about the work. So it's about the people, the perspectives, the energy, the real conversations that make this interesting and fun. So that's the spirit of this podcast. Good conversation, good people, and good vibes. So with that, let's get into the show. All right, so I'm excited to have my first guest on my first episode, Tom Brydon from Accenture. Welcome, Tom.
Thanks so much. Honored to be the first guest.
You know, Tom and I go way back, and we've known each other for quite some time. And I'd love to let the audience get to know you just a little bit. And spend a little bit of time about that. So, Tom, just to get to know you a little bit, like, what would you say you do? What is your job?
Yeah, so I work for Accenture, as you mentioned. Really, I sit at the intersection between retailers and brands. I focus primarily on media capabilities, analytics, digital shelf, and e-content. For me, it's super interesting to get to work with some of the biggest retailers in the world, helping them advance their retail media capabilities, but then also work with a multitude of different brands to help them accelerate their growth at those same retailers. So in some cases, I'm in a very fortunate position where I'm working with the same retailer that the brands also want to work with. And, you know, we can leverage some of the scale that Accenture has. So every day is different. It's fast paced, as you mentioned at the start.
Yeah.
You live it for sure, but I'm very fortunate to get to see a lot of the retail world.
Yeah. And so why do you care about retail? Like, there's a lot of places, a lot of ways to engage in media and marketing, but why retail? Why do you care about retail so much?
Yeah. I mean, you know, we live in Northwest Arkansas. It's the home of Walmart. And so I think you almost have to be going out of your way to ignore retail in this area.
Yeah.
But I think for me, like, I'm passionate about it for a couple of reasons. One is because my background is psychology, and there's a very psychological component to retail in terms of how do you connect with your shoppers? Mm-hmm. Why do they pick and choose to purchase their hard-earned money on one brand versus another? Why do they walk into a Walmart versus a Target? That is very interesting to me. The other reason is because when I was at P&G about 6 years ago, that was really the start of some of the larger JBP negotiations that were happening. Walmart just in-housed its capabilities. And when you've got the largest retailer in the world having very serious multi-year conversations with one of the biggest advertisers in the world, I realized I had to pay attention. And so I did. And then from there, it kind of grew.
And that's before retail media really blew up, right? Yeah. And so like that was one of probably the starting points of where retail media started to get bigger and bigger and bigger once Walmart really started to get really involved there.
Yeah, they deserve a lot of credit, honestly. The growth and the investment they put into building out their retail media ecosystem is kind of incredible. Doing majority of it in-house as well. So like I said, we're lucky to live here, and coming from a digital marketing background, it was a natural fit for me.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I like to do a little icebreaker with my guests, or I will, since this is episode 1. So you get to be the first guest with the first icebreaker. So what is one retailer that is out of business today that you want to see come back?
I miss Blockbuster.
Yeah?
Yeah. I lived in the UK and moved here when I was 28. So I remember Saturday nights, Friday nights, going with my family, making sure the DVD was behind the face of the title, and then sometimes it'd be out if everybody wanted to watch it. But it was a nostalgia thing. I actually worked there for a short time. Was rocking the blue polo for a while. And for me, like, Blockbuster is a nostalgic piece, but also it's a missed opportunity piece. I strongly believe that with the brand identity and the physical footprint and scale that Blockbuster had, maybe 15, 20 years ago, if they'd embraced a more digital first mindset, you'd be probably logging on, and instead of clicking on Hulu or Netflix, you could be clicking on the Blockbuster stream.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Icon.
Yeah, I like it. Cool. Yeah, for me, I think it was like, I was thinking about this a little while, and like service merchandise. I don't know if many of you are familiar with service merchandise, but that used to be a store. I mean, kind of like a Best Buy in a way, but kind of like a Best Buy type of store. But why I miss it and wish it came back was really for similar to you, like a nostalgic point of view. Like, I used to go there with my grandparents, and we used to look at the electronics and a lot of the cool stuff there. So service merchandise was one that came to mind for me. Yeah. So one other icebreaker question. So what is one reel or TikTok in your feed that right now that makes you laugh?
I do. Disclaimer, I do not use TikTok.
Okay.
But I do like an Instagram reel. I'm a big fan of YouTube, as you know, so I like a YouTube short.
There you go, shorts. Yeah, shorts.
In line with the kind of futuristic AI component of some of the things we're going to talk about, one that really tickled me recently was it was a compilation of how, some people are scared of robots in the future and what they could do. People think it's going to be like a Terminator situation. And then they were like, yep, this is the future. And then it cut to a number of different robotics concepts. And basically they all fell over, all freaked out. That to me was like, we've got a ways to go, but we're making good progress. But it was just funny the way they set it up. So that one got me.
Yeah, that's great.
What about you?
For me, like right now, and I don't know if it's just because it's timely, but there's this like dogs doing podcasts that is just cracking me up. So it's 2 dogs and one's the host, and they're saying some cliched thing like, who's a good boy, and they're like, of course I'm a good boy, and they start cracking up laughing. And so like I've seen, there's a whole series of them, and I've seen them all at this point, but yeah, I really love that one because obviously here we are doing a podcast. So
okay, well, just let me know which breed of dog I am when we get done with it.
And it's usually like a golden retriever and a Frenchie. That's the one I've
nice.
seen. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, easily found. I'm sure you go on Reels, you'll find it pretty quickly. Cool. Well, great to get to know you. All right, we're gonna move on now to our topics, right? So call this segment topical banter, and so I will introduce a topic, and then we'll banter about that topic. So we have a few great topics today. So first topic we have is Summerween. I know, what did I just say, right? Summerween. So, I mean, it's basically Halloween in the middle of the summer. So this has been like a trend that was happening on social where people were, starting to get in the Halloween, we'll call it Halloween spirit, no pun intended.
I got it.
The Halloween spirit in the middle of July, right. June and July, right? And so, retailers are really leaning into it. I was in Lowe's the other day and they've got this, 30-foot zombie in there or something like that, hanging out. And so this is August, right? So, like well before October. So it feels like the retailers are getting into it. Walmart's definitely getting into it. Michael's, so they're getting the jack-o'-lanterns, the skeletons, candy, decor. They're just pulling it out way in front of October. And it's booming. Like Halloween sales last year were $11.6 billion, and nearly half of those shoppers now start buying before October. So that's a huge amount of money well before October when you think people start thinking about it.
Right.
So, Summerween. So is this something just made up to be a marketing stunt now, or is this really becoming a retail strategy? So, what do you think? Do you think retailers are pushing shoppers into Summerween, or do you think the shoppers in the social media culture is pushing retailers into jump in a little bit early? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's a cultural component to it. There's also a US culture versus other countries component to it as well. I think like something I noticed having lived here for 10 years is that, the US goes big on holidays in general, which is great. I think it's awesome that we celebrate these big seasonal tentpole things.
Right.
I personally feel it's a bit early. It's, October where we live is fall foliage and cooler mornings. And it's tough for me to get in the Halloween spirit. But that being said, it works. Like, if you can extend out a big buying period, there is an opportunity to increase revenue, especially if you're a brand that naturally and organically plays in that space. So I can see the benefit of it from a brand and retailer standpoint. And if, the average consumer is embracing it and doesn't feel that it's kind of off topic or too early, then why not?
Yeah. I mean, it feels like it also fits a certain niche of people who are really into Halloween, right? And so starts to get them into the spirit. Also, to your point, if you start to extend the season, incrementally, there's opportunity to, grow revenue, right? Yeah. Make more sales during that period of time. So, if you were advising a brand, which you do often, right? Would you tell them to lean into Summerween or just kind of wait it out a little bit longer to see? Like, because I think it's interesting to figure out how certain brands could play, right? Other than the people who are creating just these products that are sold for Halloween for decor or candy or et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a media guy, so I'm always going to go with the data. Which is
what's the data say? Yeah,
it's not a sexy answer, but I think there is data that you could draw upon in terms of consumer trends and social listening and things that you could do to inform that decision. It's probably too late now if you're honestly, for sure. But like if that does become a trend next year and that's something that you want to plan for, and your brands, like the key thing here is the brands that need to be thinking about it, they need to make sense in that space.
Right.
One of the worst decisions brands can make, in my opinion, is forcing themselves into a movement or a conversation where they just don't play. And then it feels false and it feels unauthentic. For retailers, absolutely. I took my little girl, she's 6, to Walmart the other day, and they had the pumpkins out and the decor pumpkins, and she thought it was the best thing ever and wanted me to buy one. So it works. There's a real life example of how it works.
Yeah, definitely. So you bought that pumpkin, you probably will buy more things the next time you go, right? Because every time you go with your kid, they're gonna hit you up for the next thing.
What are those stores that pop up on Halloween? Spirit Halloween.
Yeah, Spirit Halloween.
Yeah, so that's our house. That's basically
what, Well, so you're really leaning into Halloween as a family.
Yeah, my wife loves Halloween.
That's good. That's good. So like, what is around the timing? So when does this end? Like, do we start moving Summerween into June or May? And the other thing too is there's also back to school time for a lot of families, right? So now you've got this dual seasonality that retailers, let's say like a Walmart, right? That are trying to, you got to have space for all of the back to school stuff. Then you got to have space for all this Halloween stuff. Right. And so, assortment, it's got to be challenging, I would assume.
For
figure
sure.
that out. So when do we pull this? Yeah.
I mean, you see it time and time again. I mean, I'm not, no, you know, I'm not advocating for Valentine's Day in December, which, you know, but if you've got children, which Halloween, you know, primarily a children's kids-based activity.
I don't know, man. We'll talk about kidults later.
Yeah.
So,
but like, you know, as a parent or two, like the last thing I want to be thinking about is preparing for something that happens 2.5 months away when I'm trying to figure out our new routine and our new life with back to school. So for me personally, no, but there are some people that are planned way out. You know, Hobby Lobby is another one. Going to
for sure. Yep.
You know, drove past there the other day. It was absolutely packed.
Yep.
And so I can only assume like the next big thing is Halloween. So people are getting in there early and wanted to plan and prep and make it special.
I wonder if you combine the two, have like back to school with Summerween, and so you've got.
Well, it can be a bit scary. So
I guess it would be for kids. You know, going back to school is scary, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good combination.
But you see it with like Black Friday as well, like Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Now it's just weeks of savings.
Black Friday, I mean, it's a month. It's not like start as soon as Halloween is over. It's like boom.
Yeah, but holiday season is now 2 months. So
yeah, it's interesting. Okay, all right. Great conversation on Summerween, but we're going to move on now to our next topic. So we're going to talk about agentic shopping, right? So AI agents, I mean, I think overall that's just a huge topic. There are all kinds of agents that are being used or being planned to be used in retail. And honestly, it's probably too big for just this one podcast, right? So we're not going to go into all of them, but we're going to talk about agentic shopping specifically. You know, that's the idea of AI finding and buying the stuff you want automatically with, you know, minimal, you know, intervention, right? Or practically zero intervention. And everybody is working on this, right? So you've got OpenAI, Perplexity, Google, Walmart, Amazon. Everybody's experimenting. Everybody's trying to figure it out, right? And so, you know, I think shoppers are kind of curious about it, but I don't think adoption is low. I don't think the tech is quite there yet. And honestly, the value proposition, like when is it the right time to use agentic shopping? When is it not? Like, are you going to use it for your everyday essentials like toilet paper, but maybe not for if you're going to buy a couch, right? So it's like, I think finding the right use cases for this and having the right tech and right tools, does seem to be, you know, kind of the balance that everybody's trying to figure out. And so, and then plus, you know, consumer behavior needs to change, right? And so there's an evolution. It doesn't usually happen just overnight. So trying to figure all that out. So, you know, if shoppers right now I guess they're getting more used to using AI for discovery. Like, how do I find something? Hey, find me this, find me that, find me the other. What do you think really needs to happen for them to kind of take that next step and look at using AI or agents or some technology that buys things on their behalf?
Yeah, I mean, Accenture's hugely into the AI space. So we have a lot of discussions around this, and not just what's available now, but where will it go in the next 6 months, 12 months, you know, as you know, this is such a rapidly evolving space, right? What you know now is going to be outdated by the end of the year. So I think if I take your adoption question first, like I would look at something like, if I made an equivalent or a comparison, that's what I like to do when I'm thinking about adoption, which is like, if I look at the iPhone, the way that you used to unlock the iPhone was you had to put in a PIN, and then it moved to fingerprint ID.
Yep.
And there was outcry about that. There was, I don't want my fingerprint in a database and PII and all those things.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah. Apple kind of said, tough luck, and kept going, and people adopted it. Then Face ID came in, and people got even more upset about Face ID because they felt like it was an infringement on their personal space. Well, now 50% of the world unlocks their phone with their face, probably more so if you count all the
now you can get through security in the airport, right? With your face, right?
So I know that's not exactly what you're asking me, but if I link it to giving up control and doing something that maybe feels strange now, but won't in 6 months, a year's time, I could see this topic and agentic shopping going that way. I think exactly what you said, though. I think people will start with the mundane, the repetitive, the low risk in terms of cost elements of it. But, you know, you don't go to a travel agent now to book your flights. You go online and book them, and you hand over thousands of dollars, and you trust that when you do that, the airline or the hotel company is legit.
True.
And so, you know, I would be an early adopter of that. I think, for sure.
Yeah, I think this coming holiday season is going to be a key time for this, right? So, you know, with everybody working on this, and, you know, the idea that, you know, consumer and shopper behavior may be adjusting, like, I think there is going to be an opportunity to really see what the appetite is with the general public, with you know, using AI for shopping in a lot of different ways, you know, potentially even Agentic as well.
Well, I mean, it's what do you want AI to be for you? So AI can do a lot of things, but it can only do them well if its infrastructure, its data set, all the things that go into building it are concrete and accurate. If you're talking about driving value through time savings, totally see it, right?
Busy. And there are categories I think that lean towards that, right? So, you know, toilet paper and, you know, the things that you buy on your everyday essentials that are somewhat on a regular basis and that it require low involvement, right? Low involvement products.
Or it could be a niche product that you're struggling to find. Like, you know, if you having to dig around and go and find something extremely neat, you know, we both like sneakers, right? Yeah. Like, you know, if you're trying to find a very specific pair that's maybe on the resale market, on the gray market, and you can't find it in the specific size you want, you've tried all the regular places. I mean, have AI go find it for you, and then, you know, maybe set it up so that, you know, it doesn't go spend 500 straight away, but it tells you it's found it, and then you can make a decision. Yeah,
and I've tested that out a little bit with some mixed results, I will say, but obviously, you know what they say with AI, today's the worst it'll ever be, right? So it'll continue to.
That's a good saying. I know of it like that.
No, right? Yeah, that's pretty common right now. It's today's the worst it'll ever be. So, yeah, I mean, I can probably have a whole nother conversation about the difference between an AI agent buying sneakers and what a bot does to buy sneakers and suck up all the inventory. But that's probably a topic or an article for another day.
Well, you know, I have strong feelings on bots. So
yeah, great. All right, so let's flip the script. Tom, I think you brought a topic to the podcast today, so let's hear what you got.
Yeah, I want to put you in the hot seat.
Oh man,
you're prepared though. I'm not gonna ambush you with something. So, you know, we've worked in this space now for quite a while, and whilst we both ended up in the similar places, we both had quite different backgrounds to get here.
Sure,
which is true of most people. I think one of the patterns or trends that I've seen is the ongoing tension between what you would consider brand level marketing and media, and then shopper retail focused marketing and media.
Yep.
And for me, you know, if you're going to ask me for a hot take on that, I think there's a world in which they both play together. But at the end of the day, like, if I was to ask you, like, why does a company want to build a brand? What would your answer be to that?
To sell products, right? To make money, right? To generate revenue.
Yeah. And the two primary ways you can do that are a D2C solution or a retail location.
Yeah.
So if your ultimate goal is to drive conversion and loyalty because you believe in the brand, loyalty is another topic we could spend probably
that's
hours talking about. But if that's your ultimate goal, is to drive conversion, why are more brands not focusing their brand building activities around highly scalable retail ecosystems? Walmart has 95% household penetration, right? Amazon is a behemoth of e-commerce opportunities, and Walmart is very quickly catching up on that, along with the Targets, the Krogers, et cetera, et cetera. So I was just interested in your take. You know, you've worked on some huge brands. Like, have you seen a shift in terms of companies now being more willing to try and build a brand, leveraging the scale and first-party data and the associated attribution of retail? Or do you still see it as we have brand level activity and we have shopper and there's this gray area in the middle?
I mean, I think it's interesting. So, you know, being where I was previously, I had exposure to the biggest CPG company, right, in the US, right, and seeing how they operate and working with those iconic brands. Now, in the role I'm at today, I'm getting more exposure to marketplace and smaller brands, and I think, for me, I think it does depend on what level of brand you are, so to speak, and I think the ones that are the smaller brands are leveraging those ecosystems. So marketplace sellers, let's call them. They're selling their products through these channels, and they're trying to leverage any of those the retailers' channels in order to gain as many sales and conversions as they possibly can. Now, there are limited budgets, right? So they can't do everything. So they have to obviously make choices, as every brand has to make choices on where they invest. But I do see like the smaller brands, really leaning in a little bit more into retail versus the big, the bigger brands. I think it's tough, man. It's tough to find that balance, right? Because like for people to buy your product, they have to be aware of your product, right? And so in the case with a retailer, if you're only being sold at Amazon or you're only being sold at Walmart, you've got to figure out how do you drive those eyeballs to those locations, to those sites. And they have to be aware enough of what the value proposition, your product, what are the features and benefits and all that stuff. So you've got to find that right balance between the offsite and the onsite to do it. But yeah, I think sometimes, brands, bigger brands may not always think about the retailer specifically when they're maybe working on a larger campaign. And so obviously that's where commerce, media, and shopper marketing teams and those types of teams, customer teams, are the ones that are usually are trying to figure out, how do I take this big message and this new product or this brand positioning and trying to make it work at retail. And sometimes it doesn't always work the same, right? Because there's different goals at different retailers, and the product is positioned differently at different retailers as well.
Yeah. I think there's the organic component of any brand's business at retail is becoming more and more important, because it's the fundamentals and it's the foundation. So when I think about DTC, I think about like the brands that do well tell a very clear story, right? They either have a very clear value proposition, they solve a problem, or their ethics and what they stand for really resonates with people. They're usually the three. And so now, with enhanced content and brand stores and ways to tell more of a story within a retailer ecosystem versus a standalone D2C solution, I could see that becoming more of an opportunity moving forward, as long as that content that you've got on the retailer site is as good and best in class as what you would put on your own, right, whatever. So it's just, I appreciate your insight, because, we go back and forth. I think there's a ton of stuff around measurement solutions and one ID and making sure you can track all the media through the funnel. But I do agree. We sometimes get stuck in a difficult position, which is that if awareness is up here and conversions around, it's that consideration layer where the two mostly overlap.
I always think of like, people don't know where to put a tactic. It's not full awareness, it's not full conversion. They put it in the middle under consideration, right? So it's like, it's kind of a little bit of both.
Well, I mean, if me and you had $1 for every time we got a brief that said drive awareness, consideration, and conversion of X product at X retailer for X budget, I could probably retire by now. That is not a brief, right?
Yeah.
That is a catch-all solution for something, because we're not thinking through what the actual KPIs are of what we want to achieve when we go to market. So, and it's probably for that exact reason.
And I guarantee you the budget isn't enough.
Never enough.
It's not enough. Well, if you're trying to do all those things, right, and you're trying to do it well, and you're trying to, depending on what your cohort is and who you're trying to reach,
right? Like
there's not enough money in order to address all of those.
And it's usually way too tactical, way too short time frames. That's why you need to be planning the year in advance and making sure that everything ladders up to what your overall objectives are for the year and the associated KPI.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, good stuff.
Thanks for indulging me on that one.
Yeah, no, I mean, we could probably talk about that one for just an hour on its own, because I think there's some really interesting areas to unpack specifically into that area. And like I said in my open, like the funnel to me is not dead. Like it just has to be. I think there's so many people that want to throw away the media funnel, but I think it's super important to really truly understand what value each level of the funnel has within a media plan or a marketing strategy.
Right.
All right, so we're going to move over to a fun one now. So the next topic, we're going to talk about this craze that is totally taking over the country, maybe I guess it's even the world at this point. But let's talk about Labubu.
Okay.
All right. So have you even are you familiar with the Labubu?
I am. My wife actually mentioned it to me 2 days ago.
Okay.
It's the furry little animal craze, right?
Yeah, they've got wide eyes. They got this big grin. And it's from a company called Pop Mart, and they have retail locations as well, right? Which they actually just crushed their earnings. I think they just reported they just totally crushed their earnings. So this is the latest collectible obsession, and they're just absolutely crushing it right now in a lot of different ways. But what's really interesting to me as part of this Labubu craze is really the whole concept and the idea that more adults are shopping the toy category for themselves, right? And so the term that's being used is called kidult, right? And so the kidult cohort is a huge part of the toy market, right? And so they account for about 43% of self-purchases is this cohort.
Oh, hi.
Yes,
wow.
43%, and $1.8 billion in Q1 of 2025 alone. So it's not just a niche, right? And just speaking about Labubu, I was actually on Walmart.com yesterday, and I mean they have Labubu on its homepage, and being sold through StockX, which is a resale marketplace for collectible items and that kind of stuff, and so it's really becoming more and more mainstream. So, I mean, if you just think about the escalation of Labubu and just kind of this kidult economy, do you think, like, what I get concerned about all these things is these hype cycles. So like something's a trend and something's hot and then it dies off and then what's the next thing, right? But I mean, do you think like kidult overall, right? So, adults are buying Lego sets, right? And those are collectible. Adults are buying Pokemon cards, and those are they're really getting into it. And I'm sure some of it psychologically is nostalgia. Kind of missing out on what their childhood, or missing their childhood. So, I mean, do you think like this kidult economy is going to continue, or do you think it will kind of fade with time and something else will come in?
No, I think it'll continue. The two examples you just said were the exact ones that popped into my head, which is Lego and Pokemon. Pokemon's had a crazy resurgence over the past few years. You can't find it, right? And there's a whole secondary market, and some cards are worth thousands, tens of thousands of dollars. So there's it's got its own economy essentially to it. I think kidult is kind of baked into us, honestly. Like, as you get older, millennials, it's like as a millennial, when I was, in my teens and even in my early 20s, I didn't have a ton of responsibility. I got to spend a lot of time doing the things that just I enjoyed doing. You can be kind of selfish, honestly.
Right.
You don't realize it at the time because you're just exploring your interests and your passions. And then, you get married and you maybe have a family and you're in a career and you're doing great things and you're getting satisfaction from that in other ways. And, I personally wouldn't change that for the world, but you miss some of those things that you got to do when you were younger. Gaming's another one. And so I think people will continuously look for comfort in their childhood experiences. I don't think Labubu is going to be around for very long, personally. Okay. I think it's a bit of a flash in the
hot take. Yeah. Hot take, Tom.
No, here we go. I think it's a bit of a flash in the pan type of it, because this I think I read that it was launched. It's been around for like 6 years.
Yeah.
So, if I'm thinking of a belt, like of a graph, right? You've had this kind of like, it's been enough to keep the business going, then suddenly it takes off. I mean, it will fall back, and that's how people end up with boxes full of things that were once really interesting.
Yeah, Beanie Babies, right? And so
Yeah.
you can go all the way back to Beanie Babies. I mean, you talked about this a little, or mentioned this a little earlier about, being into sneakers, right? And so even the trends within sneakers come and go. Like, a few years ago, Air Jordan 1s were like the big thing.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, they pretty much go on sale now when they're released.
Get them at retail now.
You get them at retail, and even if you buy them on secondary market, they're below retail in some cases. So it's like these things trend, and now Air Jordan 4s are the big thing. And so
the more you're interested in a certain product or category, like you get to kind of shape your experience as well.
Yeah.
I love Reddit for that reason. There are so many communities on Reddit that just allow me to dive in with other people that are passionate about the areas that I'm passionate about. I really like watches too. It's all the expensive stuff. And unfortunately, but so much knowledge to be shared and like conversations to be had. And like, that's an area where I think social media like really adds to society.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. Are there any brands outside of the toy, or categories outside of toys that you think could potentially lean into this adult cohort? For me, what I think of a lot is like the collaborations, right? So the opportunity to collab, right? Do you associate your product with a trending brand to collab on, a different packaging or a different color or scent or flavor or, style? Like, that's what comes to me when I think about that.
That's a really good point. I mean, I would argue that this like cereal has been doing it all the time. Like the toys and the packages, or QSR with the McDonald's Happy Meals and things. They're always bringing in the next Disney thing, or Roblox, or it's things that, so I think there's ways to naturally integrate for sure. But I'm gonna go.
Then you have adults buying up all the stuff for that, or intended for kids. Like, I can't get my cereal because all the grown-ups came and bought it all for themselves to get the toy inside.
So it achieves the goal, but the toy needs to be relevant. So you got to make a decision as a brand, right? The toy needs to either appeal to the kids now, like a Roblox, or it needs to have that retro inspiration component to it that makes the parent want to buy it.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. All right, well, we'll wrap there on that one. So that wraps up for topical banter. We're gonna go into game time.
Okay.
Are you ready to play a game?
Sure.
Do you want to?
This whole thing's been fun, so keep going.
All right. Today's game is called Vibe Check. Okay, so this is how it works. I'm gonna throw out a word or a trend or even something totally random. Okay. And then you've got to give me your first gut reaction in one word. No overthinking. Just vibes, just like it's called, Vibe Check. Okay? Did you process all that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw stuff out there. You're gonna give me a word. Tell me what you think.
Okay.
All right.
One word is tough, man.
I know. That's okay though.
All right.
I know you can handle it.
All right. Do my best.
All right. So let's start off with the easy one. Summerween. What is your one word?
Early.
Okay. AI and marketing.
Future.
Labubu craze.
Short-lived.
Wow.
It's hyphenated, but give it to me.
Yeah, I will. I'll give it to you. So we didn't talk about this one, but maybe it'll be on another cast. But Amazon's same-day grocery delivery service that they just launched.
Yeah, trend-setting. Trend-setting.
Trend-setting. Okay, cool. How about Taylor Swift on Travis and Jason's podcast? What year?
Smart.
TikTok shops.
I want to say more, but I can't.
No, you got one word, man. TikTok shops.
See, I'm overthinking it. I'd say current.
Okay. Yeah. All right, we're up on pumpkin spice season. So what do you think about PSL?
I'll just say not for me.
The new Cracker Barrel logo.
Divisive.
Yeah, I'm very sure. All right, how about American football? There's only one good answer there.
I'm going to say friendship.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Pineapple on pizza?
No.
No. All right. Cool. All right. Well, thanks for playing Vibes Check. That was good. That was fun. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap this one up for now. And so time to wrap up the cast. If you haven't got enough Tom and I in our banter and stuff, you can check us out at the Embark Innovation Summit on September 16th. I'm going to be hosting a panel, and Tom and a couple others will be discussing the future of shopping and what brands and startups must do to stay ahead. If you want more information about the summit, visit embarksummit.com. So I hope everyone's enjoyed the vibes of today's show. I want to say a huge thanks to Tom for being guest number one. Any last words, Tom? Anything you want to plug?
I would just say thank you for having me on. As for transparently being vulnerable, it's my first time ever doing a podcast.
Yeah.
So
you did great.
So learning for both of us. I would just say, I'm very passionate about this space and I love talking to like-minded people about it.
Yeah.
I don't think Accenture is known for retail media specifically. I think, it's a huge company with a lot of skill set and technology powering it. But we're very bullish on where this could go, especially leveraging the scale that Accenture has. So I would just urge people, drop me a LinkedIn message, schedule a coffee. I'm still convinced more business gets done over coffee in Northwest Arkansas than it does in office buildings. So hit me up and let's have a chat.
Yeah. Awesome. Will you come back? And if you say no, I'll just edit that out. But will you come back?
Absolutely. I'll come back. Yes.
All right. Awesome.
Hopefully this gets some views and the people actually want me back.
Yeah. No, I'm sure I want you back. How about that? All right. Well, if you have any thoughts or comments about the show, feel free to email me at retailmediavibes@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Maybe leave a comment or a review. I want to thank you all so much for listening, and I will try to do better next time. BV out.